Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to look at AgilePoint connector for Automation Anywhere, which is one of the leading robotic process automation products in the world. Now, before we look at the AgilePoint side of configuration, let's look at Automation Anywhere control rooms. I'm logged into Automation Anywhere control room over here. And if I go under bots, under my bots, if I drill down into one of the bots which I have created, what this bot does is, it's a task bot. It opens a WinForm application. It doesn't have an API, so it is simulating that scenario. It enters the information which has been passed to this bot from AgilePoint. So using variables, I have passed information into this bot from AgilePoint. Those variables take the values and then enter it into the WinForm fields. Click the submit button on the WinForm and then finally close the WinForm application. Now once these bots are run, if I go under activity, under historical usage, I can see how these bots have been run and whether they have been completed successfully or not. So this is the status part of it, and there is a whole lot of information which I can retrieve for a completed bot or a running bot. Now in order to connect to Automation Anywhere using API, I can use multiple approaches. So I'm going to go to my profile. If my user profile has been given permission to generate an API key, I'll see a button over here to generate an API key. And how that comes into picture is, once I have my bot created and I'm ready to design AgilePoint side of the application, I go to Manage Center, Global Access Tokens. As you can see, I already have a couple of access tokens created for Automation Anywhere. I'm going to go ahead and click Edit Token. So over here, I give it a nice looking name. I can provide the URL of my control room. I have two options of connecting to Automation Anywhere. Either I can use an API key or I can use a username password combination. For today, I'm going to use username password combination, but if you would have generated an API key using the setting I showed you, you can use that as well. I'm going to enter my password. I'm going to say generate access token. So it successfully generates an access token, and I can set a renewal rate to 10 minutes or 15 minutes. I'm going to go with 10 minutes. So the access token is refreshed every 10 minutes for security reasons. Now with this, I'm going to navigate to App Builder. And I have an existing application over here. This is a tax audit application. I'm going to open this. Here the country representative submits tax information and it goes through some approvals, digital signatures before it is entered into the system. So the country representative opens a form, he uploads an Excel file, attaches it, fills up the data, submits it for manager review. If a manager approves it, a PDF document is generated out of that data and sent for digital signature through DocuSign. So that's the AgilePoint side of the processing. But assuming once everything is done and the document is downloaded, signed document is downloaded and archived, what if there is a legacy system within your organization where this data has to be entered as well, and that legacy system doesn't have an API? So that's where we bring in RPA. We are using Automation Anywhere here, and I'm simulating this using a WinForm application. It invokes a bot, waits for a minute, and then starts checking the status if the bot has been completed. Once it says bot has been completed, it sends out a confirmation email. Now looking at the activities, there are 3 activities in Automation Anywhere group over here. So you see run task bot. So we support task bots as of now. Get bot information. Remember I showed you the information under historical usage, so it can read all of this information. And get bot status. So the way these activities are configured is, if I double click on it, you can give it a nice looking name. This is the run task bot activity. From the drop down, you select connection to connect to Automation Anywhere. In the basic information, the first drop down, you select the name of your bot. Now this could be a variable as well, where you would have passed in the ID of the bot. However, most likely you're going to select a predefined bot from the drop down. So you can just select the name over here from the drop down. Next, you provide a unique instance name for the bot. You can drag and drop a variable. You can even drag and drop process instance name from the system variable category over here. Next, you specify how this bot is being going to be executed under which user's context. So you can specify the username, you can specify multiple of these as a semicolon delimited list, or pick one from drop down. Next, I select a device pool. Again, it can be a semicolon delimited list if you wanted to specify multiple device pool. The concept of device pool is that I can have 5 machines where the bot runner or bot agent has been installed. I put them in a device pool, and when the message goes through to control room, one of the devices from this device pool processes the message. Now, whichever is the least occupied one. However, there can be scenarios where I want multiple machines to process the message. For example, it is an installation message which I have passed, and I want the installation agent on both dev, test, and production server to pick up the same message and do the installation. Then in that case, I would have said number of bot runners to use as 3 over here. So you can specify a higher number. By default, it will execute it on one machine. Next, I go to input variables. Now you remember I showed you some of the input variables shown on at the bot level over here. So if I go back to my bot, drill down, there are variables which are defined over here. I take those variables, I can put them under the name category and then map it to a value coming in from AgilePoint form or process schema through a drag and drop. And also I can specify the data type. So this way I can specify my input variables. And finally, if I go to the response tab, this is where once the bot request has been sent, it sends back a bot instance ID, which you can store in a variable, again a form or a process variable on AgilePoint side for future use. So I have mapped it to a variable called ID. Now similarly, if I go to the get bot status activity over here, give it a nice looking name, connect to automation anywhere using the access token. Now over here in the bot instance ID, I drag and drop the same variable where I stored the response in the first activity. I drag and drop that, and then there is another variable where I store the response of the status response in a status variable over here. Similarly, for get bot information activity, if I drag and drop, connect to automation anywhere, give it the bot ID a variable, and then from the drop down I can choose which variable I'm interested in, what part of information. So it provides you a whole lot of information. You can decide which one you want to store in a variable on the AgilePoint side. I'm going to remove this one. I've already published the model out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to Work Center. I'm going to go to my frequently used apps over here. I'm going to launch an instance of this form. This is an AgilePoint eForm. Now if you see, the form is pretty much empty. It has 30-40 controls over here. Now I could manually enter it, but I'm going to take a different approach. I'm going to upload an Excel file here. And what it does is it is uploading this Excel file to OneDrive, but at the same time it parsed the data out of the Excel file using the name fields and pre-populated my form. So once this is done, I'm going to go ahead and click submit so that my request gets kicked off. So the file is uploaded and I'm going to go ahead and click submit. Now for the sake of demo, I made myself the participant of all the steps so that I don't have to log in and log out. I'm playing multiple roles. So I'm going to go to tasks. You see there is a task assigned to me over here. I'm going to open process viewer. You see it has been assigned to the supervisor for review. As I said, I'm playing supervisor roles right now. I can drill down. I'm going to open my task form. So what I'm going to do over here, I will just go ahead and say, put some comment, click submit. And if I go back to the process viewer, you'll see that it starts doing all the system part of the operation. It will generate a PDF document and it send it for digital signature. So now it has invoked the digital signature activity, and if I go back to my mailbox, I've received the email through DocuSign. I'm going to go ahead and sign this document. So what it did, it took data from AgilePoint form, put it in a nicely generated PDF, and where I'm signing it. So once the digital signature has been done, it is going to go back and check if the signature is done. It starts downloading it. Now it's downloading the signed document, and once it is and archiving it in SharePoint, and once it is done, it is going to invoke my bot. So I'm going to switch over to a remote desktop environment over here. This is where my bot agent has been installed. So what it did, it took that message and now it is entering data on the win form. So you can see information was passed in from AgilePoint form into this system using the automation anywhere activity, and then it invoked the bot agent, and now that information is being populated on the win form. Now once this is done, I can go back to my process model and put in a small delay so that you guys can follow it. Next, it is going to check the bot status and send a confirmation email. So now the confirmation email went on. So with this, we have added automation anywhere capabilities to our already existing suite of RPA product connectors. Thanks a lot for your time.